Bonjour. This is just a little explanation of what you'll be covering in week 2. I will have an activity for you to review chapter 1 that will count as a homework. I'll be sending that out soon. And you'll also be working on part of chapter 2. In terms of chapter 1, you want to make sure that you can answer basic questions like Comment vous appelez-vous? And Comment allez-vous? What's your name and how are you? You want to make sure that you can write a few sentences about yourself, that you can write numbers when you hear them. So for example, if you heard 15, you would write 15. Recognizing letters when you hear them, and the forms of the verb être, which you learned, which means to be. So if you have je suis, you have I am, and so forth. Also, can you cite some differences between French and American universities? That was the cultural topic for chapter 1. So if you can do all of those things, then I think you should give yourselves a pat on the back for a job well done on the review of chapter 1. So chapter 2, we'll continue dealing with the verb être, which is one of the most important verbs in French, and a new one that you're going to learn in this chapter, which is probably the second most important one, which is avoir. Avoir is to have, and you have the different forms here. You have j'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. Notice that you hear a Z sound here, whereas you heard with être, elles sont. So you have the S sound here, and you have a Z sound with avoir in the third person plural. So make sure you learn those verbs. They will follow you throughout your French career. Another topic in chapter 2 that we'll go ahead and look at are colors, les couleurs. You have vert, jaune, violet, gris, rouge, orange, marron, blanc, bleu, rose, et noir. Okay, so those are your colors. Excuse me. You have a couple of vocabulary terms on page 57 of your textbook. You have animals and a few professions. I will let you study those. And I also wanted to bring to your attention the use of articles in French. You have probably noticed that each noun is accompanied by some sort of article that modifies it, whether it be the indefinite ones, un, une, and des. Those are when you're referring to a, an, or some. So if you wanted to say that you have a rabbit, for example, j'ai un lapin, I have a rabbit, so the un is used there to make it a rabbit. You also have the articles le, la, les, and el apostrophe. Those are your definite articles. They are used to refer to the. So if you wanted to say the goldfish, le poisson rouge, for example. And you have those again on page 57. The other thing that you will be learning from chapter 2 in this first segment is regular ER verbs. So these verbs all are going to follow a similar pattern, and I'll talk more about that pattern in just a moment. But you will see that in French there are 3 groups of regular verbs, and this is the first one. And they are all verbs that end in ER, and like I said, they follow a similar pattern that I'll talk about in just a second. Excuse me. So, in terms of just vocabulary, if you were to look at these different images, you want to come up with an equivalent for the picture. So, for example, we have danser, les chats dansent, the cats are dancing. Travailler, See, he has his briefcase here. He's going to work. Écouter, to listen. Regarder, to watch or to look at. Fumer, to smoke. Acheter, to buy. He's buying a baguette. Chanter, to sing. Manger, to eat. You could also use dîner for that one, to have dinner. So manger or dîner. This one would be voyager, to travel. Parler, so he's wanting people to hear him, I presume. Détester, so détester, to hate. And aimer, to like or to love. Okay, so that's just those in terms of vocabulary. And then we have what you do. So if you have these verbs that end in ER, okay, you're just going to drop that ER, eliminate it, and you're going to add E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, and ENT. So if you're dealing with the verb parler, you're going to have je parle, tu parles, il parle, elle parle, il parle, elle parle. Okay, so you notice that this time pronunciation in French is easy. All of those sound the same. They're spelled differently, but you do hear the same sound. Okay, very often people talk about the ones that are in the boot. So you could draw a boot there if you wanted to help you remember that those are pronounced the same way. And then you have nous parlons, vous parlez. So those are different. So if you wanted to fill in these sentences, you could just come up with your appropriate forms. You have elle écoute la radio. You're just going to drop the ER. And you're going to add E because elle is your subject. So I'll let you look at the rest of those on your own, and if you have any questions, you are free to let me know for sure. You can also use more than one verb, but you only change the conjugation of one of them. So if you wanted to say, for instance, I like to study, j'aime étudier. So étudier, that's the form of the verb before you've done anything to it. So you can leave it that way, and it means to study, right? So you're not changing that. You're changing aimer to go along with je. J'aime étudier. Similarly, you have elle adore voyager. She loves, she adores to travel. That one stays in its infinitive form. That's what it's called before you do anything to it. And this one changes to go with the subject. So you drop your ER and you have E for elle. Okay, just a word on how to make sentences negative. So if you say something like il n'aime pas travailler. So, okay, so you have ne, right? It looks like this, but we made it an apostrophe because we have a vowel there. You're going to notice that the French people don't like to have two vowels together, so you very often see N apostrophe, J apostrophe, and that's because of the double vowel there. Okay, so il n'aime pas travailler. So you're putting the ne before your verb. This is N apostrophe because of the vowel. If it didn't have a vowel, it would be ne, down here. And then you have the pas coming after. A lot of people talk about a ne pas sandwich because it sandwiches your verb. However you can remember it, you're good to go. Okay. Finally, I just wanted to give you a little preview. After you get through the section on the verb avoir, regular ER verbs, and a little bit of vocabulary for animals and professions, we'll be talking about adjectives and how they agree with the person who's having emotions or has that particular trait. So that will be upcoming, and I'll be in touch with more information on that. Alright, so good luck with ER verbs and avoir. And as always, let me know if you have questions. Merci de votre attention et à très bientôt.